It is time for us to take a look at what we find in Main Street Magazine. You can find Main Street Magazine at locations for free pickup throughout our tri-state region, and their companion website is mainstreetmag.com. And this morning, something hit me. This year, I graduated Housatonic Valley Regional High School in 1971. We are holding our 50th class reunion. Oh my God, 50th class reunion, which will be held in August. This is my 50th anniversary in broadcasting, full time for 50 years, doing nothing but broadcasting. It is this weekend the 60th anniversary of the Sharon Pharmacy. They're celebrating it on Saturday. And it's hard for me to, so I said, well, let me take a look at something. Main Street Magazine has been around for, I think it's now 8 years. So I guess a happy 8th birthday to you guys, Thorin.
Thank you. It was actually in March.
So you did it in March. You know, time, the saying, I used to always laugh at my grandmother, but the saying is true. Time does fly.
It really does, especially after you have kids.
Oh, well, yeah, and you know, and after you have kids, there's that other time that comes up, which is the empty nest syndrome. And you know what? It never really bothered me because I think I consider myself one of the lucky parents that they all went out, either went to college or went into business, and they're all successful now, and they all have families of their own, and it's wonderful to see her and sit here. But I'd be willing to bet you that sitting here now, 8 years later, the magazine, Main Street Magazine, it had to come out a little different than you thought.
Well, yes, of course. Everything, nothing ever goes quite according to plan. But I decided in, I think it was December of 2012 to start this. And by kind of mid-January, I had everything kind of formulated, the content, the style, all the tough stuff. And then I asked my sister-in-law, Ashley, to quit her job and come work for me, which was, really stressful because now I'm responsible for someone else's livelihood. And then she and I started pounding the pavement in the dead of winter, soliciting advertising. And it's, we had some doors shut in our face and said, come back if you make it after a year. And but I'm lucky that this was the second magazine I'd ever done. And so I called a few French slash advertisers and I said, this is what I'm doing. And they said, we're behind you. And it was thanks to the likes of Kirk Neller of the Neller Insurance Agency and Brian Madsen of Madsen Overhead Doors, the folks that are now Crown Energy, who have been with us from the beginning and who I just credit for, getting us where we are today. And that first issue, it took a lot to get it out, but, within a couple months, I started redesigning and changing things up. And then, but having done this being my second magazine, I'd already learned a lot of, the quote unquote, the mistakes. And so I hope that I made them better when we went around. But sure, there were always changes, but there were logistical things what kind of were interesting and changed and have changed through the years.
Now, has technology aided you like it has us here? I mean, I'll be honest with you. When we started Robin Hood Radio back in February, I think 11 years ago, the Robin Hood Radio portion of it, technology was so different. If it didn't advance, I'm not sure we could sit here and operate like we did. So technology has been very beneficial to us. Has it been beneficial to you in the magazine and online format as well?
Well, when we first started, we were basically just a print magazine, and that's how I had wanted it to be. And we also didn't have the staffing to do more than, our website at that time was just kind of an information site, about who we are and what we do and our ad rates. And Ashley and I had always talked about expanding our website, but it wasn't until Griffin came on board with us about 3 years ago that we finally had kind of the staffing to do that. And so we at that point decided to have content on our website because I was constantly getting, content that we just didn't have space for because we're a monthly magazine, so we were limited. So we were able to put out stuff and more relevant stories, which I had kind of always avoided just for timing purposes. And before then, we, got on social media too, but it's, in the beginning it was just like to promote the printed thing that this thing that we were putting out, but since then it's we've morphed into more of a media source,
It's
using social media and the website. And when we decided to do the website, I felt like we were at a crossroads, because a lot of technology had changed. And so it was like, all right, we're either having to move in this direction or stay where we are. And right now we are at that stage again. So I'll tell you more in the fall once we've kind of done it, but we're also morphing again.
It's interesting because when I started out 50 years ago, radio was radio. And it's exactly like you say, we're a multi-platform organization now. We have radio on AM and FM. We have social media, Facebook and Instagram. We have on-demand. We have streaming live. There's so many different platforms. And so it's not just radio. It is a whole broadcasting medium. And what's great about what we do, and we do it in a local area, and I think that's truly the greatest thing, that not only do we get to do what we like to do, but we get to help businesses and people.
For sure. But it's funny, you and I, we're basically doing the same thing. We're just doing more work because we have more platforms that we need to put this stuff out on.
That's right. I hope another platform doesn't come along. Really,
Not for a while. It's a lot.
I'm pretty much set with, and that doesn't even include the cable station that we have that serves Northwest Connecticut. So now we're coming to the end of June. Any teasers on what's coming up in your July issue?
It is hopefully coming out end of the day tomorrow or Thursday morning, depending on how my printer does. And it is our biggest issue ever in our history of 8 years. So we're pretty excited about that. And it's thanks to our advertisers and a couple that came in literally on the last minute. So we had to, scramble on the day that I was about to send files. Literally an hour before I was going to send files, we got a couple of phone calls, and so it's like, all right, we need to find a story, and but luckily, Lindsay, who started as our intern, she went to Housatonic, and graduated last year, was valedictorian. She's been working for us since she was 14. She's with us this summer and was already working on this great farmers market article. So she did a kind of a roundup of farmers markets in the areas, and so she already had that done. And so we're happy that came in because it's our food and drink issue. So it's a perfect match for it. And we've got some, basically all of our stories revolve around food and drink in some fashion. And Dominique interviewed the great folks at Winchell Mountain Coffee, for example. And so, we've got just a ton of great stories, and that it was really fun. This is a fun issue.
And what's great about, I think, especially being the big issue and opening, is that we are now opening up from the pandemic. And if there's ever a time that businesses really needed our help to reestablish themselves, we're here for that. And I think that's so important to keep the local business community thriving in our area.
For sure. It's a very important thing. And I wanted to drop a hint about something else, but it's still in the progress stages, and I hope next time I can talk more about it. But it's kind of a celebratory thing, tying in food and drink, and of course, in Millerton, where I'm located. So I hope next time I have more exciting things to share with you and the listeners.
All right, so we'll look for the big we'll look for the announcement of maybe a week from today. Well, stay cool out there. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll speak to you next week, Thorin.
Sounds terrific.
Take care. Thorin Christendauder, of course, Main Street Magazine on Robin Hood Radio, mainstreetmag.com on the web, and of course you can pick them up for free at various locations throughout our tri-state region.